Hello team, my name is Letty. Welcome to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I'm a songwriter and producer based in London, but originally from the Italian part of Switzerland. And today, the video that I want to share with you is a bit different because I want to talk about my story so far as a musician and how my life has changed in the last 5-10 years. So let's get started. I started writing songs when I was maybe 10. I've always been involved in music since an early age. I started as a drummer just because I fell in love with a guy at secondary school and I thought I wanted to be cool as him. And then I started playing piano. And I think the piano just opened up for me to start writing songs. But it always amazes me how I got into songwriting in the first place because my parents weren't musical. I guess they just appreciated some of the songwriters from the Italian culture. My sister was playing flute in the conservatoire, but I didn't really have a community of songwriters around me. So it's quite special that I found in songwriting a way for me to share my feelings. And because I'm very introverted, it's always been really hard for me to actually communicate how I felt. And so art has always been a way for me to actually share what's inside of me and give space to my inner landscape. Now, today, as I was walking down the street, coming to my studio, by the way, this is my new studio. We're still kind of building it, but I'm so proud of this little space in London. I was just thinking how much my life has changed in the last 5 years, really. The reason is that after I started as a kid to write songs, my career started evolving. In my early 20s, I moved to Milan. At that time, I decided I didn't really have the courage to just be a full-time musician. So I got a BA in culture studies and politics and languages. And on the side, I studied jazz, vocals and arrangement. I got a diploma and I started just releasing my songs and my music. But the music industry I was all of a sudden thrown into felt really harsh for me, really unwelcoming. I must say that we're speaking 10 years ago more. And so things have really changed. But being a woman in the music industry hasn't always been easy. I was a victim and I'm a survivor of sexual abuse in the music industry. And I've experienced several types of abuse, really, because the environment I found myself in wasn't an environment that I think a girl should find herself in at that age particularly. And I wasn't equipped to actually deal with all that comes with it. So end of my 20s, I moved to London. And while internally I think my subconscious wanted me to finally give music another shot because I took a break from it, I just couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with the pain. I had a lot of regrets. I had published an album when I was in my early 20s that was produced in a way that did not feel like my sound. And I literally spent 3 or 4 years trying to forgive myself for the money spent, which is why I'm here to really empower people to just try to practice building a strong mindset. I think in the years that I took a break from music, I dedicated myself to yoga, to meditation. I became a life coach. I trained myself as a coach. But mainly all of these things were done for myself to really train my mindset and build compassion for myself. And I think these were the most important years because they allowed me then to come back in my early 30s to the music industry and to my music with a complete different approach. Knowing where I stood, what my values were, knowing my strengths, and also knowing what I would say no to and yes to. And I think when I came back, it wasn't easy. I had to really deal with all the regret that came up that finally I managed to put aside, but also ageism in music and this idea that you, even at 21, you're already old for a certain type of music. Finding my voice again, finding my sonic identity. Navigating again the music industry because it has changed so much and it's very much built on relationships. And so if you're out of it, you have to rebuild your own community and find your tribe. And because I changed so much, all of a sudden, I had to find myself new people that I could gravitate towards. And I think before the pandemic, I took really the courage to say to myself, right, I'm just going to take my life seriously, my art seriously again. And so then the pandemic came, and looking back, I would have loved to be one of those people that during the pandemic just really invested in growing online, which I didn't. I just worked really hard because I was really scared that I wouldn't have enough money, all of those. If you had to live the pandemic, you know how crazy that period was. But I think after the pandemic, I took the courage to sign up to an MA in songwriting. And I think that has been a pivotal moment for me. I'm not saying that you should do an MA in songwriting. I didn't know how much it would open up for me. But for sure, that has been a step that really transformed my life. I took myself seriously all of a sudden. When I say seriously, I don't mean I'm the best person in the world, but I just really took my art seriously. So I started showing up with certain professional approach for my art. I started renting a studio once a week. And even if I didn't have anything to make at that time, I really would push myself to make something on that day. And that really made a huge difference. I started meeting people around me. I really built my community and tribe around it. And yes, I got an MA at the end in August 2024 with a first, and I am really proud. I worked really hard. But what I'm trying to say is that it's not the MA or the degree that made a difference. It's actually pushing myself out of my comfort zone, learning new things, even if I, been writing songs since such a long time, but really pushing myself to learn new ways of writing, new processes, collaborating with people, learning from other people, being able and open to be with younger people, which in my case was extremely confronting, but actually letting go of my ego and just really accepting that everyone has so much to offer. And I think when I started doing that, my heart opened and I started just really seeing so much growth, not just as an artist, but as a human. And that opened up so many opportunities. I started co-writing for other artists as well. I started publishing my work regularly. And I just felt that I was being a professional, despite the fact that, of course, I started earning from music more than what I was earning before. But that's not the point. I think sometimes people think, oh, you're professional because you're earning from that thing. I don't think that's the case. I think for me, professionalism is the way you show up for your art. And really I don't know if you guys know Amy McNee and her work, With Your Art. She wrote a book recently, and she speaks about the importance of treating your art seriously. I think many of us don't, because we maybe spend our time regretting things or thinking that we're not good enough. And the thing is that, yes, maybe now you're not good enough, but if you keep spending time getting better, you are gonna get enough for yourself eventually, because it's so hard anyway. You shouldn't even compare yourself, because there's always gonna be someone who is better than you anyway. And also, I've always thought that in art, is there even a conversation about being better, or is it just that, people that resonate with your work and other people that don't? Now, after my in songwriting, I just really wanted to produce my own stuff, really. Because I studied arrangement, I've always had this ability to kind of imagine the sonic world around my songs, but I didn't have the technical kind of capacity beyond demos and things like that. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be amazing if I could get a scholarship for another MA? So I applied for a scholarship. I got the money. That was extraordinary in itself. Thanks, universe. And then I joined this new MA in music production, and the amount of stuff that I learned, again, super out of my comfort zone, comparing myself, with people that have been producing for a long time when maybe I started 5-6 years before then. It just was incredible. I started working in studio as a studio engineer rather than being on the other side as an artist, because as a kid, I was lucky to grow up and spend a lot of time in studio as an artist, because my neighbor had an amazing studio back in Switzerland. But that didn't mean that I was interested at that time in studio engineering, or let's say that the environment I was in at that time didn't really ignite in me confidence that I could do this. So in itself, going through the fears that it takes to actually think I can do this at the age of, when I started my MA in songwriting in production, I was 37. So not easy to kind of already go beyond those kind of limitations that we have in our mind. And now I was just thinking this morning, I am now in a new studio. I have 3 days a week that I'm here. And I started producing people write more and more. And my focus is my artist project. I'm super proud of the things that I'm putting out and I'm working on. It's just incredible. I cannot believe how much I've grown. And I'm not saying this just to like, say, look at me. I'm saying this to empower you, to inspire you that anything is possible. Just really need to create a practice for yourself. Now, I do need to say that, of course, I come from a privileged background in the sense that while I don't come from a wealthy family, I always had what I needed. I always had the support around me. And I know that there are circumstances that, are very hard for people. And people are born into unprivileged, how do you say, non-privileged backgrounds. And there is so much to do still so that we can make the systems more inclusive, 100%. So that needs to be acknowledged. However, nowadays, there's so much knowledge out there that is available. And I think a lot of it is really focusing, believing in yourself, like working on your mindset. And I think social media is amazing because it's a free tool that we have access to as artists. But at the same time, it's one of those things that pushes you to compare yourself to other people when, in fact, if we could use that energy to stay focused on ourselves and our work, wouldn't be amazing to use that energy towards what we want to do. Another concept that I might explore, the idea that with the algorithm, we're kind of flattening culture and we're just making the same thing over and over again instead of actually trusting ourselves. But yes, today I wanted to share my story to really empower you, especially if you are telling yourself that it's too late, that you are, there's no more possibility for you, but you have this longing to really make your life happen, make your creative life happen. Now is the time. Set yourself up to win, to thrive, find your tribe, find your community, create a structure for yourself where you can just show up repeatedly. It comes down to that. It really comes down to commitment and doing our best. I hope this was inspiring. There was no script, so probably if I didn't make sense, that's why. But it was just genuinely coming from my heart and coming from an inspiring day this morning as I was thinking how much I've grown, and a lot of it, sometimes I forget about it. I'm so harsh with myself. I always want more, but actually just pausing and stopping and acknowledging ourselves is so important. So thank you for listening and let me know what you think. Lots of love, everyone.